Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Yvonne from Ginger Chick Rehab. I'm so glad to have you back and visiting and seeing what I am up to today. So in today's video, this is one of the last videos that I was videoing before getting ready for our open house, and I had some home decor items of my own that I thought, I liked them. I changed my decor. When you add a piece of furniture into your decor, the next thing you know, you have to change it out. So yes, so these were items. I did actually put them in the booth. They were kind of plain, but got some inspirations off of going into another antique mall. And I'm like, hey, I could do that. Hey, I could do that. So this is what today's video is all about. How I'm taking items that were nice, but just taking them up a notch by adding some lettering, adding some wording, adding a label on them.
So do you all do this when you're out any type of a business, an antique mall, a thrift store, even another type of business? You're like, hey, I think I can reproduce that just a little bit, take a photo and put it in your I like this, or maybe want to do it someday kind of thing. So that is what these photos are. These were inspirations from an antique mall, and I thought, I wonder if I can put my own little twist on them. We're going to start right off with these. Yes, I absolutely love aged metal. I love everything about aged metal. So these are just some that I've had in my own decor. And then as I changed out pieces of furniture, which ends up changing your whole decor. So yes, I put them in the booth. I thought, I won't charge too much for them. Whatever I paid for them. But no, they just sat there. Nobody was really kind of interested. So I brought them all home and let's see what I can do with them. So I had done a rolling pin makeover where I printed out labels from Etsy and then along with some jars from the Dollar General store that I also did too. So I'm like, I already have all these labels. There's all these ones that I printed. I wasn't sure what I was going to use. So this is a perfect opportunity to put some labels on these tins. All of these labels were already pre-printed because I had printed off a whole bunch because I wasn't sure what I was going to use on different types of paper. So all I did was go in and cut a whole bunch of them out to see what would fit each one of these tins. So I absolutely love the cow. It's a little bit too long for this tin, so I'm just trying to decide which is the best area for me to make my cut at. So to glue these onto the tins, I'm just using some Mod Podge. To make this look like this is an old label that's just always been there, I'm not putting any more of the Mod Podge on the top of it. All I'm doing is taking a watered down paper towel and just going over the top of it, and that will just form it to that tin. And this is definitely a way to use my stash. I had already printed out these labels, trying to figure out, that was when I was new to doing the downloads from Etsy. So this is just perfect getting to find items to use them up on. And I will consider this a God wink moment of, yes, it makes it very cost efficient since I already had the tins, they were in my decor, and then I already had the labels. So love this. So next up are these pails. Oh my goodness, I just absolutely, I am obsessed with metal. It just gets me every time. So just adding some wording to this, I think will be a perfect accent for it. Using the IOD crockery stamps. Oh, gotta go love your faithful. And then I have my lint rollers holding my round objects in place. I forgot those off the first one. I really need to just leave a set in the workshop. And so I'm doing that packing tape hack where so I can just have that one piece. I can see where I'm placing it because I can see all the way through the packing tape using my Stays On ink pad. And I want to make sure that this is going to be, you're going to be able to see it. So I'm re-inking it up with some IOD black ink. And the other nice thing about the packing tape is that it will help this stamp be flexible around a round object. And then I have a little bit of sticky to help me adhere it while I'm pressing the ink and making sure that it's transferring onto the tin. For me, when it comes to those crockery stamps, I kind of picked up the ones that didn't say marmalade. I usually save those more for my crockery or my jars. So I thought these were just a perfect, that way I get to use all those stamps in that stamp set. Now next up is this taller picture. So it is quite tall, but I'm like, okay, which one of them do I have already printed out? And I have some of the sunflowers. I do love myself some sunflowers. So I was playing around trying to see which one I thought fit the best, but I'm definitely thinking the longer one does. Now, not only am I going to go ahead and just cut the sunflower area itself, but I'm also going to go in with my little mouse sander and distress this paper. That's just really going to tie in the age of the metal on the picture itself, along with some aged label that has been peeling off. I'm applying this is the exact same way as I did the first two labels. The funny story about this tin is I remember it having a horse on it, a horse label of some sort that had been put on it before, and I took it off. So that's funny that I'm putting another label back onto it. Now I do find the ones that I downloaded from Etsy, sometimes some of them won't let me make them bigger or smaller. If anybody knows the tip that I may be doing, yeah, I can't usually copy and paste it into anything. It's probably just a protection off the download of the Etsy, I think. Like the sunflower one I can, but like these, when it comes to when I was doing my canister set, I wanted to make some smaller and bigger, but I couldn't figure out how to do that. I had to keep them the same size. Like I said, it might just be how the download is. Even though I have showed these jar makeovers before in a Dollar General flip makeovers, oh my goodness, I ran across some more, so I could not help myself. Yeah, so these are definitely a quick flip because one, I already had a whole bunch of those labels printed off, and all I had to do is wash the jars and paint the lids. Actually, the first set that I put in of the canistry set has already sold, so it's nice to have some backup to put in again when there's space for them. So, yep, I'm just trying to find which one of the labels I already have pre-printed that fit the jar. And then I noticed that some of the jars that I picked up, I'm like, oh, wow, there's a lot of different sizes they're coming out with. They were not all the same size as I had purchased before. This one I'm going to switch back over to the other Mod Podge that I believe it should be water safe, so that way if somebody needs to wash their canisters, they can. So this is the one that I chose to use the last time when I did these canisters, so as I'm doing them again, I'm going to keep them so they're already food safe, but in case somebody needs to put the whole canister into water for a quick hot second, that the label doesn't come off. Especially since this is a clear container, trying to get any of the excess glue off. I did not get video of me painting the lid. I just spray painted it black, distressed it, put a little antiquing wax, and called it good. And now I'm going to go back over with one more layer of the Mod Podge to make sure that this label is good and sealed in there. So now this is the little crock I showed in my last thrift haul, and I took some snowman off of it. So I'm like, oh, I only have one little crock left in my little stash, so I might as well get this one done. The ones that I put the pottery stencils on, the JR stencils on, I think I have 2 left, so not a bad seller. So even though I'm not going to be doing that same technique because I'm going for the quick and easy here of labeling, this is another one of the Etsy's downloads that I just printed off a chicken and just going to put a little bit of label on it. Did the same exact thing where I distressed that label just a little bit because I know that my cuts are not as straight, that perfectly imperfect of distressing that label. Now the next up are these barrels. So I've had the one smaller one in my hoard for quite a while, and I just actually picked up this one thinking that there was something I could do to cover up that cute little painting that is on it. But yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and sand that painting right off. And then I got to sand it off as much as I possibly could, that it is nice and smooth. Nope, the whole image is not. I didn't want to cause a whole bunch of problems by opening and taking that right down to raw wood. So after I got it all cleaned up, I'm just going in with my Old Faithful, my Waverly in black, the ink. I know that this is my Old Faithful because it's usually a one coat coverage on this black ink. So I'm just going in with some 220 sandpaper, just giving some distressing, just going down to some of that natural wood because it painted so well. And using a wet wipe to make sure that it's staying nice and smooth. Now to seal this chalk paint in, I'm just going to give it a nice misting of the Rust-Oleum Clear Coat in matte. That we're all dry, I have 2 more images that I downloaded and printed off of Etsy. Now the funny story is you think, why did I do this on 2 separate pieces of paper and not put them on one? Well, the same thing as the before, it won't let me copy and paste it, so I can at least size these to what is size appropriate for the little barrels that I'm doing, but I just can't put them both on the same piece of paper. After getting them all cut down to the size that I wanted, I'm going to go ahead and, I know it probably looks weird, like why am I putting saran wrap on these on these barrels? So I'm actually going to put this into water. This is that brown paper cardstock that's really stiff, and I want it to go around this round object. So yep, I just got my shop bucket, some clean water, and I'm just going to immerse it right in there and then go ahead and just kind of shape it so it can start to dry around the shape that I need it to be. Sometimes you could do pack and seal, but I have another layer that I'm going to be doing on this, and I want to make sure that it's going to be sticking. So this is the only way that I could think of to get this to start shaping around these barrels. So I had played with some of the ticking that I had left over from that pillowcase where I did those picnic baskets, but I just did not like this brown paper with it at all. So I'm just going to some pieces of just plain old drop cloth. So after getting it shaped to the way I want, I'm just using some spray adhesive to put the piece of drop cloth on the little barrel and then put that's why I needed that to bend a little bit. I didn't want the paper ripping. I wanted it to, it's a tight little space, and it's a big image. Last up are these extremely tall canisters that can't even tell you how many years I had these in my decor. But when you, like I said, when you're changing your furniture, kind of, yeah, they no longer I don't have an area to display them. So these have never actually made it into a booth. I knew that I wanted to put some kind of wording on them to begin with. I liked them plain where I had them to begin with, but I know that people seem to like wording on things. So then I just went to my Cricut. I copied a lot of the market flower, then changed the number on it. I've seen similar ones here and there, so that's where I got my inspiration. So yep, I'm just making a stencil out of the vinyl. Now this is just a personal preference, and I know it would probably be easier just to put the vinyl right onto the galvanized, but there's just something about the paint to me that I like. So I like to make a stencil. I'm trying to keep it level. That's why I put that piece of masking tape. I use transfer tape to put my stencil image onto my canister. So it's just a personal preference if you want the vinyl to be just your wording, or if you want to use paint, and I usually prefer paint. I like to do a lot of rubbing and making sure all my little pieces and parts and there's no air bubbles that I may not see, and then I like to cut out my image as close to my lettering as I can. That just helps me when I'm visually centering in it. So I just lay a little bit of masking tape around the outer edge like a frame so that I don't accidentally go onto the area that I do not want to paint. So my go-to is always the Apple Barrel multi-use paint. And for this, I want it to be a little bit darker. I know this is a newer aged galvanized, so I'm just doing that makeup sponge for the Dollar Tree store with the pouncing technique, but just a little bit of paint on. I'll go over multiple times to achieve the darkness I want. Before I'm putting on my next layer of paint, I go ahead and use the assistance of a blow dryer to make sure that it is dry and that I'm not pulling paint off, that I'm putting paint on with that next layer. And I want to seal my paint color in, but I don't want to, there's no need to seal in the entire galvanized. So what I'm doing here is just using a little bit of polycrylic right on top of the vinyl, taking a blow dryer, making sure that that is good and dry before pulling off the vinyl, because if it's not, it will all come off together. And then there again, I'm using that assistance of the heat of the blow dryer to heat up this vinyl. That way it helps me pull it off without pulling any of the excess numbers off with it.
So what did you think? Yes, quick and easy. We got some stamping going on. We got some printing from Etsy going on, some label making, some gluing down. Yes, like I said, an afternoon, and then I had these projects done. So we'll see how they resell, but yes, it's just something about wording, something about a little bit of a picture on an item people are just drawn to. So, yep, so we'll see how it goes. So let me know, guys, if I have inspired you in any way. If you have any of these items laying around, you're like, yeah, maybe I'll do that to them, or you're going to go out thrifting and look for any of these items. So thanks for watching today's video, guys. And as always, don't forget to give me a like so YouTube knows you like this kind of content. And if you're new and checking out this channel for the first time, please hit that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know when we've uploaded a new video. And we will see you next time, guys. Bye.